my channel, Margaret Knob Designs, and I have a design team project for Country Craft Creations. This is an exclusive collection from Country Craft Creations. It's called Forest and Stream, and I think it's just really a great collection for any of those outdoor guys that you have, whether it's you use it for cards or you use it for folios or a mini album. What I chose to do is I'm making a gift for my son, and he is a hunter. He bow hunts primarily, but so I thought this would be kind of a fun booklet for him. So let me show you what I'm making, and hopefully I can stop saying the word so. I keep saying that. I apologize. What we have here is a folio holder. So I have folios inside, and I utilize the 8x8 paper collection for this. So our top is 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So we did 8 1/4, 8 1/4, so that I could make sure that I could double mat. This is the Craft Artisan Cardstock, and this is the paper collection, and nothing was cut off of this because this then with going down 1/8 of an inch makes this work specifically. I also have a couple of Tim Holtz's corners there. I have an eyelet that was in my stash that I thought looked more masculine. Now, I could do a lot more on here as far as decorating and everything, but I just really thought that clean and simple, he can put it into his bookshelf and save it for when he's ready to use it. So there's that, and then I believe this is, it's a 1.5 inch spine, and this is part of the cut-aparts I took, and then here is just another sheet of the paper. I wanted to put the corners on the back here as well, but I ended up putting the little box holder on here before I put the corner on it, so that didn't work. So I still think it looks good just with at least this on the front, and you know, no harm, no foul. The other thing that I did too is on the bottom, and this is the right way, I put them, I matted all of this on the bottom, as well as I matted this along the side. And I used a twine that looked a little bit more rustic for this folio. So let's open it up and let's get into our little folios. So basically what the design of this is there are pockets. These are 3/4 of an inch deep, and there is no photos on any of these items yet. So I'm sure once they start getting full, they will sit in here a little bit better. Otherwise, the other thing that I thought of, I didn't do, but I thought of doing, is I could put like, you know, what do you call it? A bridge or a piece of the paper and a magnet underneath here so that it would hold this down and in a little bit better. But I'm going to wait and see what happens with filling it up with the pictures. So we have pockets here. These are approximately 8 inches. And then what I did is these booklets are 7.5 by 8, so they're a little bit smaller than the book itself, and helps it so that it has room to grow in those pockets. And then on the inside of those pockets, what I did is I did some picture matting, and I took some of the cut-aparts and I put it down onto this. This is a die cut from Tim Holtz. It's a die, and I think it's cute because you can use it for the pockets. And then I took some of the designer paper and covered it in there. Now these are actually some of these kind of odd sizes, because I do have an app on my phone. I can print out pictures whatever size I need them to be. But I'll show you on the other ones here that you can do, you know, the regular sizes. So then this is a piece of the paper, and on the back I have that, and this one, and we have that. So these are not done inside yet, and I think I'm going to work on those to possibly even do a flip or two inside them. but nothing more than that. I want to keep these pretty simple because most guys, when they go hunting, they don't take a ton of pictures, but it would be nice to have a couple, like all the guys that went, and maybe some memories from that weekend. Here is another layout that I did, just so you can see that I didn't use the cut aparts on this. I used the graphic 45 tags from my stash. I do have a stamp for some of these are 3x4. This one is 3x5. So what I did with this set is I actually took my the white paper that I normally use, and I cut a bunch of the mats, and then I went in and laid them all out, and then I cut the designer paper for what I needed to fill in. So that's this one, and that's the back of it and front of that one. Then we've got this one and this, and then our big moose. And on the back, I think this is Annie Oakley. So as you can see, I used some of the designer paper on the back. It's double matted as well with the Artisan Cardstock. This is matted with the Craft Artisan Cardstock. And I did use my vintage photo around the edges of the paper. And this all goes back into here, closes up, and we are done. We just tie it back up. This is a very, very, very simple project. And what I like most out of it is the fact that especially for Christmas, if you need a gift for Christmas, this is really a great gift if you have hunters or fishermen in your family. It's very simple to put together. It really only takes a couple of hours, and I'm kind of a slow crafter. The hardest part, or the thing that takes the longest in putting this together, is actually matting in the little booklets, like where you're going to put the pictures and the sizes and everything. The rest of it goes together so quickly and easily, and that's kind of the operative word. It's easy. So I thank you so much for being here. If you stay on, it will start out with a tutorial, and it's not very long and it's not very involved because this is, like I said, pretty simple project. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. I will have another one coming up fairly soon. I believe that I will be using another Country Craft Creations paper in my next video as well. So hope to see you there. Bye. Hi crafters, welcome back to my channel for the tutorial on this kind of a binder folio book box. I'm not really sure what to call it, but you would have seen that in the previous video, and so we're going to talk about putting this together today. So I'm going to start out by giving you the simple information to begin with, and then that way you don't have to watch me doing it because you can actually do this on your own, very simple. If you are not familiar with making mini albums, the base piece to it, then please check out the description below. I have a video about putting together a mini album, and the album put together doesn't matter what size it is. You can use the same formula. Just always remember that what you have for your covers should be a little bit bigger than what your pages are going to be. So I have made this this mini album 8 1/4 by 8 1/4, and the reason why I did that is because I wanted to use an 8x8 paper pad, and I did want to double mat. You can barely see it. There's a khaki, or the cardstock underneath there. Every time I get on camera, I forget. I know, craft cardstock. I always forget that word. It's just terrible. So anyways, back to the regularly scheduled program. So the mini album is 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And then that would be the same for the back. And then for the middle, or the spine, this is actually 1 1/2 by 8 1/4. So basically what you can do that will work out really well is when you cut your, here, let me grab this. When you're cutting your hopefully this is not too bright. When you're cutting your chipboard, make sure that you cut along this way and then this way. So that way you have this long piece right here that you can save for your spine. You want to use as much of your chipboard that you have, you know, and is ready to be cut. So what I did here for the covers is I used a thin chipboard. You can use a thick chipboard or a thin one, whatever you want. But because I knew I was going to double mat, I decided to use the thinner chipboard. And let me see if I have a piece. What do I mean by thin chipboard? This is what I mean. It's, you know, probably like a cereal box. So if you didn't even have a chipboard, you probably could use the cereal box and cut it into pieces and use that as well. So because I'm using and double matting front and back covers and inside, I decided to use a thinner chipboard. So our matting piece, our first matting piece, is 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. And then the pattern paper is just what it is in the paper pad. It is 8 by 8. And I did the same thing on the back here. The matting is 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. And then this is just the piece of paper from the pad, 8 by 8. One of the things, though, that I am going to do differently than what I typically do, where I cut down 1/8 of an inch for those mattings, when it comes to the spine, I normally leave the matting. The first piece of matting is, this is cut at 8 1. Oh wait, let me see if I cut here. I'm talking like I'm. Let me just make sure this is what yeah. So for the matting, for the height wise, this way, I'm cutting the matting 8 1/8, just like these. But for going across, our spine is 1.5 inches. I always make this matting 1.5 inches. And part of it has to do with the way we wrap. And you see all this brown here. So if I really had narrowed it in more, there would be so much more brown showing. And so that's why for my spines, I go down 8 1/4 by 1.5. And then I will do, when I do the cardstock or the pattern paper, I'll then make it 8 by 1 3/8. 8 1 3/8. But we'll figure that out in just a minute. So one of the things that I like to do is I'm going to be doing double matting on the inside and the outside. And so what I do is I usually get my papers ready, and then I pick out the papers that I want for these, and I glue them directly onto my matting, and then my matting and the design paper onto the cover. And the reason why I would do that here is because we're making this into kind of like a box or a folio keeper. And I want to put all of this on before I put the boxes in here for the little folios. And because I want the pattern paper all around so that it frames out my pockets here. And then I'll get the center matting in as well. I cut this the same, 8 1/4 by 1.5. And then when I get the pattern paper on here, it's going to be 8 1 3/8. So that'll be 8 by 1 3/8 to get that on there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this done, and then I will be right back and we'll get moving on to the next part of this. I'm going to try to make this so that anything that takes a little bit more time or putsy, I'm going to try to do that off camera, because if it's not difficult, then I don't really need to show it to you. So I will be back in a few minutes and get you caught up on the next step after this. Be right back. Hi crafters, well I'm back to go to the next section or next segment. We're going to be putting our pockets in. So I want to show you what I've done so far. You know, we've got the covers on, and I gave you all the measurements for that, and I also put the spine on, and we've got our back covers, we've got measurements for all of that. The next thing that we're going to do, is we put the covers on the inside, and then I put the paper down on the spine, and again, I gave you all the measurements for all of this. And then this is what the pocket is going to look like, but I am going to double mat that to give it a little bit more weight. But let's go through those measurements right now so that you can cut that out and we'll put that in. So first of all, you're going to want to cut, this at 10.5. So 10.5 by 5. Let me just make sure. Yep, 10.5 by 5. And then you are going to score at 1/2 inch on, on the 10.5 side by 1/2 inch, and then 3/4 inch, or I'm sorry, 1 1/4. It's a 3/4 gap. So 1/2 inch, and then go to 1 1/4. And then go over here and score at 9 1/4 and at 10. Now, if you don't want to do it going across like that, other suggestion that I would have is to score this side, then to just turn this around and score that side. But let's go through those measurements again. It is 1/2 inch and 1 1/4. And then we come over here to 9 1/4 and 10. And then for this side, for the 5 inch side, you are then going to score at 1/2 inch and at 1 1/4. And the reason for those measurements is that this is for putting down onto the cover so that we have our hinge, and then this 3/4 is so that it's 1/2 the size of what the spine is at 1 1/2, so that we can put our book box together. And we will double mat this and put it all together. So the first thing that we are going to do is I'm going to cut in here. Not sure if you can see it, but it's these hinges right along here. This one I'm going to cut away, and I'm going to miter that bottom piece at the same time, but I'm going to leave this on here. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to cut into that score line, and again cut into that score line, and then I'm going to cut this away. So you can either straight cut it and then miter it, or miter it when you cut it. Whatever works for you. So then we've got these two pieces cut, and we've got this left. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to miter just this outer 1/2 inch at the very top, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. And then that's pretty much all our cutting that we need to do. I'll show you how we're going to put this together in just a minute. I want to burnish my score lines. So I'm going to come in here and get all my score lines burnished. And this, I'm going to just burnish this to the inside here, and I'll show you what we're going to do with putting that together. So right, burnish all of these. Again, these are going to be your hinges that you are going to be setting down on your cover. And this is the way that I did it. It doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't other ways of doing it. There possibly could be. I'm not sure. It's just the way that I thought to do it. So whatever you think is the best for you, but this seems to work pretty good. I think it'll end up being fairly sturdy when we put it all together. So when we put this all together, these are going to be the sides, and this is our bottom. And with this, what I did with my side is I took this longer piece here and I put it up to this to make a square. See how I did a square in that corner? And I just thought that that would give it a little bit more sturdiness, as well as close off that corner, because I want to make sure that that corner is square. So I'm just going to hold this for a little bit to make sure I hold that corner square. Can't find my clothespins. I don't know what I did with them. Probably put them away, and that's why I can't find them. Oh gosh. So we're going to do the same thing. Glue on that side and then just hold this down till it starts adhering. And all that I'm doing is going in here and is just pulling that in. Oh, you know what? This is a little bit off. Sorry. I just want to make sure we're square all the way along. And then we've mitered at the top, but I'm actually going to take this and tuck this piece under that bottom piece because I think it'll be easier and it won't, our booklets won't get stuck in there. So we're going to put a little bit of glue on here and then we'll hold that for a few minutes. Sorry, you have to watch me doing this, but in order for it to stick again, I don't know what happened to my clothespins. They're probably right here somewhere. Okay, and then we'll do the other side. Put some glue down here, and then we will put that up together, make sure that we're squaring everything for that corner and holding that down, kind of pushing away the glue that's seeping out a little bit. All right. So now that we have this, one of the things that I like to do is to come in and dry fit whatever I'm putting into my book. And so there's two things that I want. I want to make sure that I'm even along these sides and, you know, even along the bottom here. I have about 1/8 of an inch. That's what I have over on the other side, about 1/8 of an inch. But I want to make sure that I also have 1/8 of an inch coming from this side so that when we're closing this, that it's not right together, but it should close evenly. But I want to try to make sure that I'm matching up these pockets right to the edge so that they line up when I close. So that's what we're going to do. And if they're going to be a little bit off, then they're just going to be a little bit off. I can't worry about that. But again, I have a few minutes to be able to kind of wiggle this around. And you even have the opportunity to, if you think that part of it is sticking out too far, you know, like too far over the book, you can push that in a little bit so that you can hold it down. Or pull it out a little bit if you need to. I get one side the way I want it, and then the next side moves. So just have to be gentle and just play with it, and if I have to put some more glue on it, then I have to put more glue on it. So I'm going to hold that for just a few minutes, and then I'm going to come around here, and I'm going to just take my bone folder in there. Just make sure we're down pretty clearly all the way around. And let's put this together. It looks pretty good. It's not too far off. Not off at all. So what's going to end up happening is that we're going to look like that. But you're probably asking, how are we going to close this? Well, we are going to put a closure in right here, and then I have some string that I'm going to tie it with. But before we do that, I'm going to cut my papers for this, and then I'm going to get one of my books started and ready, so then I can do another one with you and show you how I'm going to do the little folios for inside the boxes. So I will be back in a little bit, and I can show you what paper I used and how I've matted all of this, and then the next book, and then we'll do the tie for the book as well. All right, well, we'll see you in just a little bit. Thanks. Hi, crafters. So let's get moving on to our next part of this project. And what I said is that I was going to make some little folders to go in the book box. And this is what I put together. So the paper on the front, paper on the back, and then I went ahead and put some photo mats down. I don't have these stamped on because some of them are different sizes, but I have an app on my phone that I can print out whatever size photo that I need. And then I took a few of the cut aparts from the collection, and I put those down in here, and those can either stay here, or maybe there's something that we want to put over here or in between, you know, backing it or whatever. But I put a few of those in here. And what I wanted to show you is that this little folio, this is 7.5 by 8. And so when you're cutting your cardstock for this, is you need to cut one sheet 8 by 7.5, and then one would be 8 by 8, because what you're going to do is you're going to score on one side of the 7.5 7.5, no, the 8 side, sorry, one of the 8 sides, so that you can put a hinge. Here, I should show you this. Put a hinge, I don't know if you can see that on the back of your page, because this will measure 7.5, this will measure 7.5, but this top one was really 8 by 8, and then you scored it 1/2 inch to make your booklet. Also, for this booklet, I put together this inside on this booklet, and each one of them is going to be a little bit different. I have some stamps. I don't have all the sizes that I need, and so I'm just going to see if I can find another way of putting my photo mats in here. This is a 4 by 6. This is 3 by 5. I think this one was 2, might be 2.5, 2.5 by 2.5, 3 by 5, and in there. And so what I did this time is I just took some of the graphic 45 tags and put those in my little tag holder. And this, I had these in my stash, but I also have the die cut. There's a die cut by Tim Holtz that you can purchase I'm not sure if it's in Country Craft Creations, but I'm sure you'll be able to find it. It's been out there for a while. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go ahead and we are going to mat the front of this. What I did is I took all of my designer paper. So since our book is 7.5 by 8, I cut this paper, the designer paper, by 7 7/8 this way, and 7 3/8 this way. So again, that's 7 7/8, 7 3/8. It's all 1/8 of an inch smaller than what the actual measurement is. And I'm not, because this is for my son, and you know, I can do all kinds of things to embellish it and make it look fancy and all that kind of thing, but he's a hunter, and I just think that he's going to enjoy it much more if it's simple and it's not so hard for him to fill out, or, you know, be able to put it on his bookshelf, that kind of a thing. So, and then I just have a sheet that I cut the same size for on the back of this. And I'm going to put that down. All total right now, I cut out 6 booklets. And I think that that's probably going to be the ideal number once the photos get in it, and or recording. And the way I see this being used, it can be used a couple different ways. He could use this for, they do deer hunting, and he likes to go bow hunting. So maybe every year we put a new year on the top of a booklet, because he's not going to take 1,000,000 pictures, but he may take some. But that's plenty of room for pictures for 1 year. So he could use this for 6 years or more because of all the booklets, and then it could just be a different year on top, and can cut him out some numbers to put the years on the top. And he can pick out whichever one he wants to work on. So that is basically our folio. And what it is when laying these out, what I did this morning is I took a bunch of photo mats. These are 3x4. This is a 3x5. This one is a 2x3. This is probably, I don't know, 2.5 by 2.5. This is a 2x3. This is a 4x4. And these are 4x6. So I cut a bunch of these out to begin with, so I could begin to lay them down on my page, and to see how I could put them together on the inside. And I lay everything down, and then I go back and glue them in to what I want to have. You know, there are some designers that do so good at this matting like this. I'm still working on it. It's still not, doesn't come easy to me. So, but that's our booklet that we've got placed. Now, I want to show you a couple other things just to finish up our booklet. First of all, I wanted to show you, I pulled this dog paper, and I put this, these actually are like the ephemera pieces, but I cut them, the page apart, and put them down here. I thought they were awesome. So this is, the design paper is 7 3/4 by 3 1/2. And then the other thing that I did is, not sure if you can see that, I put, this is 3/4 of an inch, this hinge, or this part on the side. Is it right? Or is that a 1/2 inch one? Ooh. Sorry, I'm wrong. That's a 1/2 inch one. This is a 1/2 inch. So what I did is I took cardstock, and at the 1/2 inch, I cut it at just under a 1/2 of an inch. And then this one, I cut at 3/8 of an inch. And so I did that on both. And what I tried to do was to take a sheet of paper that matched up exactly from, you know, end to end, because actually my duck is here, and that's his beak over there. So the other thing that I did do, and I thought this looked pretty nice, is I did the same thing on the bottom. Is I took these cut aparts and I put them on the bottom. This is 3/4 of an inch. So this khaki, or the craft cardstock, is 3/4, so 5/8, and this is 1/2 inch. That's what I put down for matting. So then the other thing that I wanted to show you is And I think I might have talked about this before. Let me take these out of here for right now. What I wanted to do was I wanted to put, I'm not sure if you can see, I wanted to put these corners on all 4 corners, but you know what? The last time we were together, I put this down before I put the corner on. So I'm just going to do the front 2 corners, and we're going to do that right now. This is a corner from Tim Holtz, and I will show you how I'm going to put that on. It's very, very easy, and they're pretty bendable, so I usually like to put either our glitter glue or Fabri-Tac on the corner, and then I put this down, and I will bend that over a bit, and then I don't have my, if you have a jewelry making like a needle nose plier, that probably would be really good for this. I know I have one somewhere, but you know, of course I can't find it right now. So, but this tool, I finally can use it for something. I forget what this is for. I think it's for brads, but I thought, oh, this will work good for putting this down. So we're going to do that and put the corner on these 2 front. And, oh, my glue will dry clear, but don't have to leave all of it on there. So there you can see I've got my 2 corners on there. And yes, I would have liked it on the back here. And I mean, I could put it here. No, I can't because of this. And honestly, this pocket was put on and it fits so well that I didn't want to take it off again. So the other thing that I did while off camera, and I wanted to try it first because I've never used these wider eyelets before, and so I have had these in my stash, so I wanted to go ahead and try them out. And as you can see here, I also have some twine that I tied knots on the ends. You could also take and put some charms on the end of these. That would be pretty cool. And but I wanted it to look more rustic. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the other eyelet into here. I've got this one, and then we will put our twine into that eyelet. And this piece of twine is 24 inches. And I tied knots on the end of those. So I am getting my crocodile out, and I'm using the larger hole puncher, and I've put this about 3/4 of a way in, 1/2 inch to 3/4. I didn't want it too close to this part of the to the end of the chipboard and everything. I wanted to make sure that it was far enough in, especially with the thickness, of this. So that's going to go on there like that. And we are going to then set this eyelet. I hope I'm doing it right. I'm trying, you know, here I did this one because I wanted to test it out before I did it in front of you on camera. And then I'm trying something different, actually. A different position on my, sorry, this looked like it needed to be squished down just a little bit more. So I used a different set. But the other thing, let me just tell you, you're probably saying, well, what eyelets, you know, what do I use for those eyelets? Actually, right on the back, it tells you what you should be using and for your crocodile. So you can just get the package and you can, it'll tell you which ones to use. So then what I did is I just went ahead and put this through. And it was, I will be honest, it was a little tricky because it's going through double is a little bit, it's a little tight. So the other thing that you can do with this book box or folio folder or whatever you want to call it, is you can also do some different types of tags and things, and you could even take those folders and do some hinge pockets in them as well. Wow, this one's really wanting to be a trouble to me. Let me see if I can get a smaller end, because the other one didn't. Of course, I'm on camera, you know. The other one didn't give me this much of a problem. I actually was able to pull it right through. So I just went down to a more narrow area of the cord, and I'm going to now take the two ends and I'm going to line them up so that they match, and then all I'm going to do is pull that over like that. And I want this part of the knot to be on the outside because I think it looks a little bit rustic. So we'll do that. And then essentially what that's going to look like is I'm just going to go ahead and I will do a bow, even though it's a guy thing. We will do that, and if I can come up with something that's more manly, I will think about it. But basically that's what we look like, or I could tie it up, you know, on top of here, and the outside is that. So one of the things that I was talking about that would be pretty cool on this, whether it's on the folders or whether it's on this book box, you could choose. These are some paper clip kind of add-ins if you want to use something like that. Like if you wanted to put something on the cover that would stay here, but and add a little bit of, you know, a little bit of charm to that, you could do something like that. Or here's another one I have that, and these don't go with this collection at all, but it's just a couple that I had made up already, and they're kind of like add-ins, and they could be added in to any of these booklets if you even wanted to take them and add them into the top of the booklet. Like let's say you wanted an extra spot for, you know, for the photos, or an extra spot for writing. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and these fit really well on these little booklets, and they would fit just fine. You've got another photo place back here, and doing something extra like that. Or you can also take and do something, you know, like a flip out. We can do like maybe a simple flip out on this side, or we could even put a pocket in one of these. They don't have to be plain. That's just how I wanted to do the first couple. I do have a couple more, as you can see, that I need to finish off, and I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but I'm going to do that in a little bit. So that is our folio holder for guys, for those hunting guys. Or just, you know, outdoor guys. So I thank you so much for being with me today and watching this all the way through. And I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you.